I've kind of mentioned this before in the past, and I'll continue to mention that this is going to be something that can happen. And unfortunately, it's like we're living in a time in gaming when big AAA games, for the most part, they'll probably come to Xbox, no matter what. Specifically, I think Microsoft is trying to tailor their development to when, if you're developing something for for a Windows, whatever the case may be, I think the Xbox is going to, you're only going to need one version for like the future of whatever Microsoft has next. I'm sure it's just going to be like a PC, and so it'll probably, in your console mode or whatever, it'll just automatically adjust or whatever. I still think that's going to be a really poor way to play games. But that's what Microsoft's going to do to kind of get away from saying, okay, well, developers don't want to develop for the game. All they have to do is, since they're developing for PC anyway, is they'll just have that version. Like, to me, it's all about getting a version of a game that is going to be specifically made for your platform. Otherwise, you get really kind of a lackluster version, especially for for certain things. So anyway, I fully expect like big developers will continue to put games out on PC, which will mean that the games will come out on console. The thing that I do worry about is, like, what about stuff like GTA 6? I mean, we know that that'll probably come to PC a year or two later, but what about launch, right? And what about stuff like college football that doesn't have a PC version? Like, what happens to that? You also have a situation where smaller developers are going to have a really tough time justifying making anything for Xbox, because if you think about it, and please be real with yourself and me with this thought, but I've said this numerous times, there's nobody that can actually think Xbox hardware is in a good space right now. I mean, you have a situation where they raised the price. It's with taxes, it's over $700 to buy a new Series X. It's over $500, I think, to get a Series S even. That console was like $299, and it's been as cheap as $199 over the holidays for the first couple years. So, to pay double that price is insanity right now. So, Microsoft didn't even put their console on sale for the holidays. And while everything did have a rough time selling over the holidays, you had the next playground outselling Xbox consoles, which is just insanity. Overall, it doesn't look really good. And then you have certain games, like a game called Dispatch, right? Like, you guys might not know much about this game. It's like a superhero, a superhero comedy, something along those lines. I haven't played it myself, but again, it's very interesting to see how these things kind of play about, and it's made from the people that actually did the like Telltale game stuff. So it's in that kind of vein. It got a lot of play as like a game of the year contender and stuff like that. I mean, obviously it was never going to win, but people that have played it have absolutely loved it and say, hey, it's amazing, etc., etc. And I think that's really cool. But then you have a lot of Xbox people that are missing out on this, right? I mean, maybe it'll come to Xbox. They do say that they're looking to add additional platforms. There's been quite a few games that come out of nowhere to be massive hits. Like there's a co-op climbing game called Peak, and that's exactly what happened with Dispatch over the last couple of weeks and months. It's a story-focused adventure game by former Telltale Games employees, featuring an impressive cast led by Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad. They've released some episodes on PC, PS5, and it looks like the Switch as well. They've sold over 1 million copies in 10 days. So yeah, that's pretty interesting that they've been able to kind of accomplish that. Will we ever see it on Xbox? The chances could be, but again, it's like, if you're an Xbox owner, you're waiting on this stuff. I think there's like a really, really bad situation where, you're stuck waiting for these games that may or may not come. And, again, we just kind of look at these things and we just go, okay, it's really kind of a sad situation, because you've got to wait and wait and wait and wait. And that's what Xbox fans do. It's like you're stuck waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And, it's going to be one of those things that really kind of make it a tough situation at the end of the day. So it's like you have these games, and I get that it's not like a super like AAA or anything, but these are the type of great game experiences that Xbox fans miss out on, especially at launch. That is kind of, disappointing to say the least. You can play the game on, PS5, and I think it was announced on, let's see, it was more recently announced. And the funny thing is, so I'm looking up this game because I seen people complaining about it on like Twitter and stuff, and they're like, when is Dispatch coming to Xbox? And they did say they're looking to bring it to additional platforms or whatever. And just within the last couple weeks, it was announced that it's going to come to the Switch and Switch 2, but no mention of Xbox just yet. So the superhero comedy Dispatch has just popped up on Nintendo Switch and eSwitch, or eShop for Switch and Switch 2, and is available for pre-order. There's been no formal word yet by developer Ad Hoc Studios, but Nintendo eShop listing is now live in multiple places. For Nintendo Switch 2 owners, a free upgrade pack will be available to download separately, providing a version of the game with enhanced resolution and improved frame rate. There's no sign of the game arriving on Xbox, though obviously this is article from this December 17th that I was kind of looking into. So the game first launched in October for PC and PlayStation 5 and quickly won over a lot of fans. It's already shifted over 2 million in its first month on the market. It's got actually a pretty good amount of people doing the voiceovers and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool, like I mentioned earlier. But it is disappointing to see that, so many people are, not going to be able to play this type of game on Xbox. And maybe it'll come to Xbox, but the fact that, it's such a game that is kind of maybe looked at as, developers look at Xbox as like the last kind of option. You know what I mean? And even you look at the article for this game or whatever, when you're looking into it, because I'm like, is this game ever going to come to Xbox? And like on the one side, it's like, well, you can play it on the Xbox ROG Ally. Yeah, that's just a PC. You know what I mean? I keep saying this over and over. People keep going, well, yeah, I can play these or these PlayStation games on my ROG Ally. And I'm like, well, can you play them day one? Are they specifically tailored to that platform? Because I'm seeing a lot of issues with the ROG and just handhelds in general where games don't play exactly great. And, that's a disappointing thing because the one Xbox Ally is $1,000. So, you're talking about over $1,100 with taxes, and you can't even play GTA 6 at launch. You can't play college football. Games are poorly optimized. You're not playing PlayStation games day one, if ever. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I find that it's just a kind of a lackluster experience for something that's so expensive. And, it's like, it does make me have this kind of renewed sense of, hey, consoles are great for this reason. Because if you think about it, we now know, like, we were buying an Xbox Series X or a PS5 at launch 5 years ago, and these things were $500, right? And even where we're at today, these things are more powerful than what the Steam machine is going to be that launches sometime next year. But that thing is rumored to be $700-800, despite being less overall powerful, having less VRAM and everything than consoles made 5 years ago. So, and Steam, and what Valve said was, okay, well, we made the Steam machine to match the majority, 75% of what Steam users are playing on. So that means if 75% of Steam owners are playing on something that is less powerful than a Series X or PS5, then 5 years ago when these things launched, it was even worse, like probably 95% better than what people were maybe more, and for $500. And yet you saw people all the time making fun of the specs of the Series X and the PS5, like the PC people saying, oh, well, those are terrible, blah, 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 I'm gaming on something that's super blah, 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 and now you just realize how full of shit those people were. You know what I mean? And probably just jealous that for $500 we were able to kind of outperform things that they probably paid over $1,000 for. So it's interesting to see how these things go along. I'm very comfortable with where I am with my Pro and my Series X right now, and being able to game and experience all the different types of games that I want. But it is unfortunate that Xbox owners will miss out on some games like this, especially at launch. And I hope that can be something that's fixed later on. At the end of the day, that would be something that would be cool. But again, this could be a bigger problem going forward due to developers not really wanting to mess with the Xbox for being kind of a niche product. What do you guys think about this? Are you guys wanting to play this game on Xbox? Let me know. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.